Well, you would think that for our first startup spotlight showcase, I would not be on mute, but you know what? I'm only human. Welcome, Benzinga Nation. You've seen us do so many different shows, so many different webinars, but this one is a little different. This one is a little special to me. So many times I've watched Shark Tank, and I'm sure you have as well. And you've wondered, man, I'd love to have a cool idea and have something to pitch. Oftentimes I'm like, man, that seems like a cool idea. I'd love to invest in that. Well, that's what this show is about. We've got 4 great startups that are looking for investments, they're looking to raise funds, and they're looking to go ahead and tell you all about them. So here's the format and how it's going to play out. You're going to have 4 different companies. Each company is going to go ahead and have 10 minutes allocated to them. The first 2 minutes is going to be them making an elevator pitch. The last 8 minutes will be a Q&A that's going to happen by 2 judges that are a lot more of an expert in this space. Have seen great success in this and have had multiple successful exits as well. And, I'd love for you to hear them out, get to know them. And so let me go ahead and bring on my man, Nik, who's going to be our judge number 1.
My name is Nik Hulewsky, and over the past 5 years, my companies have generated over $100 million in revenue, employed hundreds of people, and created millions of dollars of shareholder value. I've bought, run, sold, and invested in dozens of companies with multiple 7-figure exits. I also have a podcast called Nikonomics, where I get some of the best entrepreneurs to open up, spilling the nitty-gritty of how their businesses operate. So if you're curious, drop me a line, nick@cofounders.com, and let's connect.
Nik, what is going on? We went from email to phone calls to Google Meets to now finally being live on the show, man. How you doing? And how excited are you for today?
Dude, I'm freaking fired up. Looks like we made it, Zunaid. I'm in. I'm in like Flynn, my friend.
I saw you and Chris, and this is a beautiful part about what I do. I saw you and Chris in the back on a phone. You were jamming out. I wasn't sure if you were listening to a rock song on Spotify or if Chris was telling you a joke.
I went to YouTube and I've just been listening to the Shark Tank intro over and over and I'm just getting in the mindset. Okay.
I love
getting in the mindset.
All right. Well, as long as you don't tell any of our folks coming on, go in the back and shoot that to me. As long as you don't do that.
We're not going to take anybody out behind the woodshed today.
There you go. I appreciate that. Well, I know it's not just you. We've got a third member joining the party, your own co-founder at Co-Founders. It's always fun for me to say that. Let's bring on Chris.
Howdy, everyone. My name is Chris Koerner, and I am a lifelong serial entrepreneur. I have started literally over 75 different businesses. I have an addiction. 3 of those businesses were worth over $10 million. 4 of them were worth over $1 million. Today, me and my partner own 7 companies, and I own 8 RV parks as well. I love entrepreneurship. I love encouraging people to quit their jobs and do what they love, and I am stoked to be here today.
Chris, what's going on? I think you forgot to just cut it off before you scratched your head.
Oh, shoot. I'm still scratching.
In the video. Dude, what's going on? The RV park sounds interesting to me. Do you actually just go out there and hang out and kind of decompress sometimes from the social media of the world?
Occasionally. We've got one in Montana that's nice to hang out at when it's 118 degrees here in Texas, but yeah.
Yeah, trust me. I went to school in Houston. I know as soon as I showered, tried to go to class, I felt like I needed to shower again. What's one thing you're looking forward to, Chris, before we get rocking and rolling here?
I just want to hear their stories. I love talking to entrepreneurs. It's an addiction. Like I said, it's beautiful.
Some addictions are better than others. All right. We're going to go ahead and get this show on the road. And again, if you're just joining us, the format is you've got 4 startups that are looking to raise funds. They're going to have their pitch here today. 10 minutes. First 2 minutes is their pitch. 8 minutes is going to be our experts, Nik and Chris, asking them questions. Of course, the folks that are presenting have no idea what those questions will be. Nik and Chris are able to ask whatever they would like. And at the end, Nik and Chris will decide who gets $1,250 invested. And you in the chat, you'll have a poll towards the end of the show where you get to decide who gets the remaining $1,250. All right, Nik and Chris, y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Ready.
All right. Well, our first guest is going to be Kevin from Xtrades. Here it is.
There are too many fraudsters online and not enough infrastructure to allow truly winning investors to shine. That's why we created Xtrades. We're using technologies like machine learning and AI, providing analytics and services that give retail an edge. We grew from a user base of just 1 user to over 240,000 users and paid out $2.4 million to our traders. Be a part of Xtrades, be a part of the future of trading.
All right. What is going on, Kevin? Hello. Is it good morning for you or what is it for you right now?
It's It's almost morning. It's like 11 p.m. where I'm at right now.
All right. Well, hey, welcome to the show, man. Stocks and futures, something like that is something I'm familiar with. You're familiar with. You're an expert at it. And of course, so is our chat. We've talked about this before. You've got a total of 10 minutes. 2 minutes for you is to make your pitch. The floor is yours, pal.
All right. What's up, Sharks? Yeah, I mean, I'm Kevin, CEO and founder of Xtrades. What I'd like to show you guys today is basically a first of its kind platform dedicated to traders and investors on the internet. So what we do is we basically use machine learning to digest crowdsourced information that is provided by users on our platform. These are basically traders sending out signals on our app or Discord, and those trades are then digested and allow for traders to have a transparent track record on our app. This track record is then allowed to basically the users can use this track record to kind of monetize themselves on our platform. So I'll just basically kind of share my screen and go over a little bit of what we got going on here. So this is the alert stream, basically signals that are sent within the app or on Discord. Since our application is fully Discord integrated, users are basically sending out signals here, and then you can kind of go to their profile and view some statistics about themselves, how many trades they've taken, their win rate, what percentage of the trades they like to go long versus short, what's their average return per trade. And having stuff like this allows for the customers that join our platform to sort of find out what kind of traders they want to follow. And if they like a certain trader, they can turn on push notifications via our application and essentially get signals or information about that trader. So whenever a trader makes posts, you can see them here. These are posts that are basically on our app or on Discord forwarded. And we're using stuff like gamification to kind of make it interesting. So basically, if you're participating as a trader on the app, there's like surveys and stuff like that allow for us to really determine how much the value of a trader is providing. And then we sort of give an income split based off that to these traders. We also allow them to monetize themselves via stuff like coaching and creating webinars and things of that nature. So essentially, we're trying to create a first of its kind social media / networking platform for investors on the internet. We believe that social trading is the future. We believe that participating and sharing insights on the internet is really something that's going to be big in the next 5 to 10 years. So that's sort of the market that we're targeting. We're targeting specifically cryptos, stocks, options, and futures. And
all right. Well, sorry, dude. Yep, your 2 minutes are right there. Nick, you can go first, and then Chris, it's all you.
So, Kevin, I don't know if it's just because I'm an idiot or if it was the flow of things, but I feel like that explanation is a really, really cool take on capturing kind of social credibility and then applying it to investing. Chris actually partnered with, you know who John McAfee is, right? The OG of crypto. Yeah. So Chris actually partnered with John McAfee 4 or 5 years ago, and he developed an algorithm that went and scraped Reddit and Facebook and some of these other social platforms to give signals on like, okay, which coins are hot, which coins are not hot. And they launched a company around that. So I like this idea of finding traders who are doing a good job, finding signals early. I mean, Discord is the place where people are making investments and just like shooting them out, and then people are following on. So I like that aspect of it. My question is, you brought like AI, machine learning, which are the sexy terms in the world right now. How are those being applied to the business?
So in terms of AI, we're basically creating an LLM that allows for us to digest all the crowdsourced insights and then basically summarize for the traders what catalysts are driving price based off of these, what trades are being taken the most, like what assets are being taken the most by traders, whether it's through Twitter or, like you said, scraping from Twitter or just users on our platform. We're able to basically digest and then rank which assets we need to provide the most insights about. and then we'll generate an LLM that summarizes the catalysts that frequently could have caused price movement for those. And then machine learning is basically just, we have a developer from Google that is helping us, who basically digested all of the trades within our platform to create an algorithm that helps identify future trades that have a high probability of success, which we have statistics backing over 900 trades with an average return per trade of 7% right now.
Chris, I'm going to throw it to you.
First of all, Kevin, I love your presentation. I'm curious, what percentage of your trading volume today is crypto versus more traditional assets?
I would say crypto has about 15% of our volume on our platform.
And have you seen that change over time as the crypto market has fluctuated?
Yeah, it definitely changes over time depending on how the crypto market performs. I'd say crypto is definitely an incoming market. That's why we want to focus there. But yeah, overall options and futures are still taking the large majority stake.
Okay, cool. I like that. I was afraid you would say the opposite, and it was more like 80%, because crypto can be such a double-edged sword. When that market turns, you could just piggyback on it and grow like crazy, but then when it turns again, you could really be hurting, right? So, go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say, I love the social proof aspect of it. Like your presentation, in my mind, did a much better job of explaining that than the website. Here are my concerns. I think that when it comes to the LLMs, the machine learning, et cetera, the big brokerages are just going to crush you, right? Because they're seeing millions, billions of trades per day. You're probably in the hundreds of thousands, maybe. So they're going to take that information and they're going to figure out better, quicker LLMs very quickly. I think the gamification of it, Robinhood has a lot of momentum going for it, et cetera. What do you think is the differentiator for Xtrades compared to some of these bigger incumbents that could come in and throw some money behind it? And my worry would be kind of put you out of business quickly.
So I would say, definitely the social aspect of things and the gamification within the platform. So I just personally believe that we have better methods of gamifying things and determining ways to allow users to engage and making it more about a social network rather than a brokerage. So it's not really like a place to take trades. It's more about just a place to gather information. Whereas other brokerages are still focused mainly on just being a place for people to take trades.
Okay.
I'm gonna piggyback on what Nick said, and I think you should drop like the AI machine learning verbiage from your website, just because like we're already to the point where that's like a given. That's like the new table stakes, right? Yeah, and I think that you should lean hard into like the degenerate aspects of trading. Like you should fully embrace that, right? Like Shopify said, we're trying to arm the rebels, whereas Amazon is like, they're the resistance, right? I think you need to be like the yin to eToro or public.com or Robinhood's yang. You need to just embrace that community aspect, embrace Discord, like ride Discord's coattails as long as you can. Is that kind of what you're using to grow, is like you're hopping into these Discord groups and implanting yourself?
So that's definitely one of the future features. We have a bot that basically allows for, it's called the X Chapter bot, and allows for traders to basically take signals, and those signals are then tracked on our app, which allow for them to have a profile. And our goal is to allow for these Discord channels to basically implement our bot into their Discord for free. And then, we would generate marketing from that. And also provide them value of having that a really specialized bot that price validates. Sorry.
I love embracing degeneracy, so I'm all for that. My question is, I don't know, like, is there any regulation that is potentially stopping you from having this type of a community? Because if you have a big trader, let's say on Discord, and they say, I'm moving into XYZ position, they could be front running the market. And you don't know necessarily what conversations they're having behind closed doors. Like it could be a boiler room situation where they're pumping a stock, and then on the other end, they're actually shorting it. And then, they move out of a position. They make a ton of money, but everybody else is kind of left holding the bag. I know that there's the social cred aspect to it. So if anyone's doing that over time, they're going to get kind of known for that. But are there any regulatory risks involved with this business on the trading side of things?
Well, I would say no, because we make it very clear that none of this is financial advice. It's simply a journal for traders to kind of input their trades. And then obviously we would allow them to have the statistics on their profile, but there's really nothing to say that like.
Okay. So it'd be like a situation where, sorry, I'm going to like summarize. It'd be like when Elon Musk tweeted, hey, we have an offer to go private from the Saudis at $45 a share. He got sued by the SEC. The SEC didn't come after Twitter. They came after Elon Musk because he was using the platform in an inappropriate way. That's kind of what you would think. That's how you would think about this platform.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, honestly. I'd say it's more about like, because there's a lot of people on the internet right now that are sort of saying that they're taking trades, but then, doing 30 things behind the scenes. But it's like, it's more of like, it's the user's decision whether they want to follow that trade or not, right? And that's why we have like statistics and stuff like that allow for users to kind of make that informed decision. But we're also not like promoting for them to follow.
Okay. Sweet. I think we're at time. Kevin, this was awesome. Thank you, man.
I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for taking
Kevin.
Absolutely. Hey, good luck, man, with everything, especially, the carry trade, whatever's happening. Hopefully we make some money. And of course we put your link in the chat as well. So folks that are interested, they can check you out there more. Kevin, thank you so much. I appreciate your time here today. We'll be in touch.
Really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. And, I'm glad you asked that question, Nick, because regulatory concerns are always a big risk. But I think it's cool because we've learned in today's day and age where you want like the instant gratification. So you want to know, hey, what are people that may possibly know more than me? What are they doing? What are the ideas? But you want to make sure that as a viewer, as a trader, you're thinking about the idea and see if it kind of fits your risk parameters and if it makes sense to you versus just being like, just following along just because someone said so,
Yeah. Yeah. And it just concerns me anytime you're posting and you have a large following, you're going to affect the market. And if you're trading in crypto where volumes are typically low and the market caps are typically low, like you have opportunity to really affect the volatility. That's where I would get kind of concerned with regulatory risk.
Yeah, it's cool. I've seen Xtrades go from like, kind of the Discord and on social media to now raising the success that they've had. So it's incredible what Kevin and his team have done as well. But all right, we're going to move things along to our next guest. It's going to be Caroline from Overplay.
Guys, if it works like insane, right?
You know me, I like to geek out with the good stuff. Overplay's the good stuff, so check it out.
Caroline, good morning and welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. You've had a busy morning. You were doing an interview on TV earlier this morning, and now you're joining us on the internet. So you ready?
Overplay's blowing up. Yeah.
All right, we'll put 10 minutes on the clock for you. 2 minutes is for you to make the pitch. 8 minutes is for Nick and Chris to ask their questions. The floor is yours.
Great. So hi, everyone. Overplay. I know you might not have gotten that from the little blurb in the beginning here, but Overplay is a no-code solution for anyone to turn any video into a game. So we're truly democratizing gaming. Now everyone could become a game creator. If you can film a video now, you can turn it into a game and share it with the world in minutes. And so it's a patented platform. We were on Shark Tank, as you saw. Mark Cuban did invest in us. We don't have any direct competitors, which is really kind of crazy and cool. So right now we actually do have an app for both iOS and Android. It's a game player and a game maker. The way I kind of like to describe Overplay is that it's almost TikTok for game. Snackable games that you can play, games made by other people. They're 30 to 45 second games, truly snackable. And the game play pattern that Overplay runs on is rhythm-based games. So if you think about Dance Dance Revolution or Guitar Hero, where the goal of those games is to match the action you see on the screen, you can now do that with Overplay. But you can, this particular game, for instance, was made by one of the top female boxers in the world. Her assistant filmed her on a rooftop. And basically with this game, you're just going to be tapping and swiping along to the game. You're not going to be able to hear it. In real life, it does have, if you download the app, you'll hear sound. but you're tapping along as she's punching. You're getting points. There's tapping, there's swiping, there's driving, there's jumping, all sorts of inputs now. So we're basically opening the whole world of gaming now to anyone who wants to make a game, truly democratizing gaming. It could be based on anything. So yeah, that's Overplay.
All right. Awesome. Chris, we'll start with you first.
All right. Thank you. First of all, Caroline, love the business. Love that Mark Cuban invested. I'm a big fan of him. But I'm curious, you've been at this for about 5 years now. What is the monetization play? How do you think this is going to get to $1 billion in valuation?
Yeah, so we actually haven't really been at it for 5 years. We have been building out the technology, but our beta really just launched a couple of months ago. And we already have hundreds of thousands of app downloads and millions of gameplays. So where we really see Overplay going is that on our own app, which we have for iOS and Android, we're going to start monetizing it with interactive ads. That's going to come winter 2024, 2025. We're only kind of a few months away from that. So all of the ads will be interactive games. So imagine now something as like random and crazy as Band-Aid brand could now have an ad where you're like ripping off Band-Aids. I mean, as crazy as that. And that's all based off of video. And so now it's super easy and cheap to make games, and you could reward fans for playing as well. So there's this whole, the gamification aspect on top of video or commercials now, where you can reward consumers and fans. It takes advertising to a whole other level. So it's a brand new level, a brand new version of ad tech. So we also do fall within ad tech. But where we really feel the cash cow for Overplay will be with our API. So we're currently raising, part of our raise is going to building the API. And what the API will be doing is wrapping Overplay's technology. So that way it could be integrated onto other apps and websites. And what I mean by that would be someone like, for instance, ESPN.com can now have game playable highlights reels on ESPN.com made by an intern based off of the basketball game that literally just happened. And ESPN could now put those games on ESPN.com, but then they could also have sponsor messaging. So say, for instance, Under Armour is a sponsor for a particular NBA game. Now Under Armour could have interactive ads put against those playable games on ESPN.com. So the API we think is going to be super valuable, and that'll be a B2B SaaS licensing model.
Caroline, so first of all, I'm sure throughout your life you've heard "Sweet Caroline."
There's also a new song too, which I'm like really.
Well, I'm too old. I'm too old to know any new songs. So here's my question, like the thing I'm the most concerned about. Super cool product, super cool technology. What's the defensibility of this product like?
Sure. Yeah, we actually do have a defensible moat. We have a couple of patents, a couple of broad patents too, which are really like amazing for us. It's kind of shocking that we were able to get these patents that YouTube doesn't have it, that TikTok doesn't have it, that Snap doesn't have it, considering they're such huge companies. But we actually do have, we've realized something where, and basically to kind of put it into layman's terms, Overplay has the patents on being able to layer a light layer of gaming on top of streaming video. So anything that runs streaming video can now have Overplay on top of it. So we have the patents on being able to create that gaming on top of streaming video, and then also being able to publish it out there. And then it also covers some really cool things, including gaming on top of live events using computer vision. And so so imagine now having a live concert or whatever where you can actually have a game on top of that.
The applications to it are amazing. One of my concerns would be it gets out there, it gets popular, and then it's copied into oblivion, and you're spent chasing down through lawsuits, each one of these individual copiers. I have no idea. Have you thought about kind of what the regulatory framework looks like in order for it to be enforceable?
Oh yeah, I mean, we definitely have we have some good lawyers on our team that we're actually even able to, and we actually have 2 additional patents that were just granted to us as well. So we got some good lawyers. Now we also have Cubans. We have a bunch of really cool VC investors already who've invested in us, and angels who are very well connected in the world and could help us defend ourselves for sure.
Okay.
Granted, look, we don't want to spend our money in court. We want to run fast and make stuff. And that's what we're currently raising around. We've made something really cool that no one has done before. We think it's going to be a multi-billion-dollar company. So we're just running fast now. And we're hiring the best people that we could bring in and bringing some cool investors in who could help us out too.
All right.
Do you see a world where someone like Snap or TikTok approaches you for a deal, for an API deal, and they say, listen, we want to sign with you, but we don't want your own app in the App Store. We don't want to compete against you. Do you see that happening? Because I'm just a little worried at the fact of we're going to reinvent ads with ad tech, but we're also going to monetize via an API, because I would think a Snap or a TikTok wouldn't want to compete with themselves, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that we're going to have those conversations over the next couple of months. Right now, with our API, what we're thinking is that, look, I come from the world of Sesame Street. I actually met my co-founder at Sesame Street. I used to run digital media business development. This is something at Sesame that would have wanted for our own audience. So I think folks like Sesame Street, Formula Odeon, Disney, all of those folks who want to own their audiences, they're going to be the first that will want to use our API. And so outside of YouTube or Snap, everyone automatically goes to those guys, to those platforms. We're actually thinking about those brands that want to own their audience, ESPN, all of those folks who want to drive to their own websites. So we're thinking that those are going to be the first adopters of our API. And we think that that's actually where the big money is to be made.
Could you tell me how to get to Sesame Street? No,
I can actually. It's actually on 63rd and Broadway. There's
I knew it. Can you tell me what's the long-term plan here? Are you planning on scaling and selling? Because I mean, Chris talked about TikTok or Snap being worried about competition. Yeah. I would view them actually being more interested in co-opting this and then utilizing it as a play for them to expand into other areas. Is your plan to just grow and scale and go public? Are you looking for a strategic acquisition, or do you want to keep it private and cash flow it?
It all depends on what the opportunity looks like, right? We could feasibly sell in the future, or we could feasibly go public. I used to be an investment banker. I used to take companies public in equity capital markets. I've taken lesser companies public than Overplay in terms of the technology. And so I really do believe that this has a lot of legs. And we haven't even scratched the surface of what this tech can do. And I'm currently even writing an NSF grant for gaming on top of live events. This could be used for ed tech. This could be used for training. This could be used for military. A lot of different arms for Overplay. So what you're seeing with the app is just the beginning.
Nik, I had the same reaction as you, by the way. We would have loved to know that you had investment background, experience, because that helps in this scenario.
I was a bankster, yes.
If you did go the ad tech route, have you done any research on what those CPMs would look like compared to normal mobile ads?
Yeah, we're tossing around like a 2.5. We're tossing around some numbers right now, and I could share with you a little bit more around the financials. If anyone wants to, you could ping me.
Last question: are you pre-revenue or are you currently generating revenue?
We are pre-revenue, but we are in the middle of signing a bunch of LOIs with partners right now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Awesome. Appreciate you, Caroline. Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch. I appreciate your time here today. Best of luck.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Nik, I had the same reaction as you did. I was like, I would have loved to know, because that means, especially in this startup world, and if you have a game plan, whether it's to sell it, whether it's to stay private and continue generating cash flow, or it's to go ahead and go public, having that background, having that expertise is definitely something that is worthwhile. All right, Joel, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to go. We can go ahead and get things going here. We've got, someone in the chat asked me, by the way, of what is it that's happening. So if you just joined, just be a quick breakdown. We've got 4 startups that are currently racing that are presenting here today. We've already had 2 great companies in Xtrades and also an Overplay that just presented. We've got 2 more coming here shortly as well. They each get a 10-minute time slot. 2 minutes of that is for them to make their pitch, up to 2 minutes. And the remaining 8 is for our lovely judges, Chris and Nik, to ask them whatever questions they would like. I know I missed some from the chat. I'll do a better job of bringing those up as well. At the end, Nik and Chris will decide who gets $1,250 invested. And you, the viewer at home, through a poll at the end of the show, get to decide who gets the additional $1,250. All right, we're going to go ahead and now bring on my man, Joel, who's going to be talking to us about Ajna Biosciences.
What if I told you that the future of medicine is actually millions of years old. That the answers to some of the world's most vexing healthcare problems are found in the plants, trees, and fungi all around us. I'm Joel Stanley, CEO of Ajna Biosciences, and I'm here to share a vision for the future of drug development that will revolutionize healthcare globally. By partnering modern technology with the ancient wisdom found in nature, we are pioneering botanical drugs. My family and team found our first botanical solution at Charlotte's Web, where the revolutionary success story of Charlotte Figge and thousands of other children using cannabinoid therapy showed us for the first time how powerful plant medicine can really be.
All right, that is Ajna Biosciences. Joel, how's it going?
Going well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You know, cannabinoids is something that I've learned a lot about because we have our cannabis business on Benzinga. So I'm excited to see and hear what you've got to say, man. You know the rules, 10 minutes. First 2 minutes is for your pitch. The floor is all yours.
All right. Well, botanical medicines have been used and trusted for centuries, yet we left them completely behind in the modern pharmaceutical industry. That's not because they're not efficacious, because many plants are highly efficacious, as we saw in the video. It's really because they're difficult to standardize. So we built Ajna Biosciences specifically to crack the code and bring botanical drugs through the FDA and into the medical ecosystem really for the first time. Now, standardizing nature into a pharmaceutical grade drug is not an easy task. So we've assembled really a world-class team and special infrastructure to accomplish this. We have some of the world's top scientists and regulatory experts, as well as some pharmaceutical veterans that have multiple FDA approvals under their belt, really double-digit approvals. I myself and our management team have a track record of raising hundreds of millions of dollars and bringing a company to a very successful IPO. Now, botanical drug development is not just a vision for the future. This is a vision we're executing on and have been for over 3 years. We've raised over $26 million, custom built a laboratory to do this. We've secured a DEA Schedule I manufacturing license so we can work with the very important psychedelics, and we're advancing our first drugs through human clinical trials presently. The first drug in the pipeline is a full spectrum cannabinoid formulation for autism spectrum disorder. We've completed phase 1 and moving into phase 2 for that drug. The second drug in the pipeline is a full spectrum psilocybin daily microdose that we believe is a better alternative to the current antidepressants that are on the market today. Now, as consumer demand rises for more natural, more sustainable healthcare options, Ajna is really poised to be a major disruptor in a synthetic pharmaceutical industry that did over $678 billion last year. By investing in Ajna, really people are backing a world-class team, creating a very important paradigm shift within medicine. For the first time, we're empowering patients and physicians with a new choice, simply by choosing to partner with nature backed by science.
So I come from the world of hospice. I love hospice. It's a weird thing to say. It's death and dying. But at end of life, we're aiming to get people comfortable. And luckily, I was in California at the cutting edge of marijuana, becoming legal, and we used cannabis. We used marijuana for many of our patients to get them comfortable at the end of life. So I love this space, and I love kind of where we're exploring with it. But I also know that there's a lot of regulatory risk and hurdles that you have to come over. We just saw MDMA. They didn't necessarily outright reject it, but the FDA has kind of put up some roadblocks with getting MDMA treatments approved. How do you see the government over the next 10 years really working with you because like the psilocybin is kind of the piece that I'm the most curious about as you're getting these drugs to market. Can you talk about that process?
Sure. So, this shouldn't be confused with a state legal clinic or state legal dispensary. This is federally legal FDA drug process, right? We have DEA Schedule I licensing. So that's the first piece. And because we're a botanical drug, a lot of people don't understand, only 4 botanical drugs have been approved by the FDA because the regulatory framework is actually very new, but it is happening.
Okay.
So I believe that not only do people want more natural medicines, but the FDA has been calling for botanical drug developers to exist. And I believe we built the first of its kind. Now, as far as the controversy of cannabinoids or psilocybin, I think that the world is waking up. But what we see in the regulatory paradigm, and I think you bring up Lycos and MDMA, I think it's actually a good sign that the FDA is taking the drug seriously, that they're going to outright reject it. They've hit a roadblock, and kudos to them for pioneering. But what I'll say about our psilocybin candidate is because it's a microdose, we don't face the same problems associated with the assisted therapy side, which that's the first time this has really been done, or this problem of placebo control. Our psilocybin drug really has a roadmap that's more like a conventional antidepressant. So we don't anticipate the same problems.
Okay. Follow-up question on that. Pharmaceutical companies, you know this, spend billions of dollars, at least the largest ones, on R&D, years to go to market, and then they get a lot of flack for the prices they charge for drugs, but that's really the way that they're recouping that 10-year plus investment. Why are you deciding to raise through this sort of platform? Why not go to some of the larger pharmaceuticals, or I don't know, some of the larger venture capital or private equity funds? Like, why do this as like a crowdsourced fundraise as opposed to a more traditional fundraise?
I think that's a great question, and happy to answer it. So, one, we are going to institutional investors. As I mentioned, we have raised over $26 million for this project to date, including $15 million from BAT. This is an $80 billion Fortune 500 company that is backing the first drug. So that's huge. We are highly institutionally backed. Why Regulation CF community fundraising? Well, when I IPO'd Charlotte's Web, I was the first CEO there and took it through its IPO. Back then, I couldn't allow friends, family, and even people using Charlotte's Web, using the product, to invest if they weren't, quote, accredited. So Reg CF to me is a democratized opportunity for early stage investment. People can invest as little as $250. So it's not the only way we're raising, but I'm very excited to raise this way. Now, if I get an institution that comes in and gives us all the money we need for, this and that phase, and they say, we don't want you to do it, I'm going to have to listen to them probably.
Sure.
I really hope every raise we do as we go into Series A, this is Series C, as we go into Series A and Series B, that we keep this democratized opportunity long before IPO, right? So I love it when normal people, my community, can really take the ride with us, and that's why we're doing it.
Cool. Chris,
Joel, I think, one of the most impressive things about your fundraise is the success that you and your team had with Charlotte's Web, because it's so directly related to what you're doing today. I'm curious what challenges you expect to face with Ajna that you didn't have to face with Charlotte's Web. What's going to be harder about this than what you've already done?
Many parts of it are actually easier because we're moving through an established regulatory paradigm. Keep in mind, Charlotte's Web was, it was such an honor to get to be a part of, such a phenomenal story, multiple documentaries, but Charlotte's Web is still stuck in a regulatory gray area with CBD. The FDA has not regulated it yet. The only CBD drug that's actually been approved by the FDA 5 years after Charlotte's Web came on the market is called Epidiolex. Epidiolex does over $1 billion gross annually. Even though we had a 5-year head start, Charlotte's Web now does around $70 million. I believe they have the best gummies, they have the highest quality control, best brand on the market. They do around $70 million annual, whereas this one drug that got approved does over $1 billion. So that's a part of what we learned at Charlotte's Web is when you're making an efficacious medicine, yes, it's hard to do drug development. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's the right path for the medicine. So I don't anticipate the same kinds of roadblocks. We don't have any trouble with banking. We're federally legal. Charlotte's Web was a nightmare in so many ways, although it was such a beautiful thing to be a part of. This, we're really going through established channels to bring these drugs to bear.
Talk about how far are you from monetizing? I mean, it sounds like you're in the trials right now. When will you get to the point where you're actually able to charge for this drug?
Right. The drug approval process is a very long process, and we've built really a botanical drug development platform, really first of its kind. There are drug development platforms out there, conventional drugs, and what happens is your drug gains value in every stage. When you move into phase 1, you have a valuation bump for the drug. Phase 2, valuation bump. Phase 3, valuation bump. What happens is that drug development platforms like Ajna look for commercialization partners. Pfizer, Lilly, Jazz Pharma bought that drug I was talking about for $7.2 billion, right? Many of these drugs get majority purchase long before they're approved, and they get backed by either big pharma or institutionals that play in the space. So we anticipate seeing liquidity events, seeing revenue from the future royalty sales of the drugs long before they're approved.
Okay. What is that timeline? Is that like 6 months or is that 10 years for you?
When I talk about liquidity events, I'm very careful about it. We may very well IPO if the markets are right in the next 18 months to 2 years. That's a very common thing for biotech companies like ours that are moving into phase 2. But there are many different options for us. But I like to look at this as really, safely a 2 to 4 year investment, and I'm pretty upfront about that.
Cool.
Awesome. Sweet. Appreciate your time so much, Joel. A lot of good stuff for us to go over, and then we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel.
Absolutely. Nick and Chris, I mentioned we have a cannabis business for Benzinga, and I got a chance to go out. I believe it was to Florida for our previous Cannabis Capital Conference, and I got a chance to learn about rescheduling that's happening, the vote that's supposed to be going on as well. So so many things I feel like in regulation in terms of what the government may do could positively impact a business like this. Do you agree? You disagree? You think it's a completely different field, Nick?
No, I totally agree. They just have two things that they're fighting uphill against. The first thing is the current regulatory environment around approving these drugs. Like he said, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Yeah. It's a multi-year process. That's already established. And then they've also got to create this new regulatory framework around things that are unconventional, like cannabis, like psilocybin, like MDMA. So unfortunately, they're fighting two wars at the same time.
Yeah. And I think, Nick, Chris, it's cool that he's already kind of had experience leading a company to be IPO'd and seeing success there. So it's kind of like you have the experience to go through the regulations, obviously a little bit of a different field perhaps, but knows what he's doing to possibly, if he does end up wanting to IPO down the road as well. Any thoughts from you, Chris, on that before we move on to the last presenter?
Yeah, I mean, pharma's hard, but it looks like this is the team to tackle it, right? He has direct experience. So I'm optimistic about their future.
Well, I'm sure as you two know, whether it's in relationships or company, you got to have a partner. You got to have a team that can execute on the ideas, because it looks pretty on paper on an Excel doc of like, oh, here's the growth. Here's the money we could make. And then to actually go out there and have that money deposited into your bank account. But all right, chat, we've got one more guest coming on. It's going to be Jacob from VenHub. Now, here's what's going to happen. You already know the structure of the show. Approximately 5 minutes or so into Jacob's presentation, we're going to go ahead and put the poll in the chat to see who you would want to invest in. The winner of that poll will go ahead and get $1,250 invested, courtesy of Nick and Chris. And of course, they will have their own winner that the two of them will pick live on air here as well. Jacob, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to rock. All right, let's go ahead and bring on Jacob from VenHub.
Welcome to a new era in retail, VenHub. Imagine shopping as seamless as a tap on your phone, where technology effortlessly meets your needs. At VenHub, we are not just reimagining the future, we are building it. In an age of smartphones and smart cars, VenHub has built robotic autonomous smart stores. Powered by our proprietary technology, we redefine your shopping experience. We minimize crime rates, labor costs, and large footprints. Our advanced AI-driven technology ensures the fastest, most efficient, and customer-friendly shopping experience. Join VenHub now and be part of the retail future.
Jacob, welcome to the show. I can't tell you how many times. So where I live downstairs, like a little convenience store, right? And when I went full-time with Benzinga, I got a walking desk, but I've gained 2 pounds since I got the walking desk because I go downstairs and get food all the time. So I'm excited to see what you've got going on and what your company is all about. You know the rules: 10 minutes on the clock, 2 minutes is for you to make your pitch. The floor is yours.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I'm really excited to talk to you about VenHub because what we're doing is some truly next level stuff. So imagine shopping becoming completely hassle-free, no more waiting in lines, things being locked up, angry cashiers, none of that. Just things being available to you with the touch of the button. That's what VenHub's all about. So we're building fully autonomous smart stores. They're open 24/7 with bulletproof glass, reinforced walls, multiple redundancies like backup power. They're packed with obviously the latest and greatest AI and robotics to make the shopping experience as smooth and as easy as possible. So what's cool is that we have 3 versions of the VenHub Smart Store. Is the fixed model, which is right behind me. So that's perfect for like temporary, permanent positions. And we have a location, different mobile version that can go wherever the action is. So it's and then we also have a tech retrofit. So we'll use VenHub technology in an existing store. So whether you're at a busy store, a corner street, a music festival, or your local grocery store who wants to modernize their operations, we got you covered. So here's a little bit about the business side of things. So we've got a multi-layered revenue model. Not only are we making money from selling the smart stores, which we already have more than 800 pre-orders for, but also through our SaaS fee, maintenance programs, and even licensing our technology to other businesses. So we're not just stopping at convenience stores. This is just our beginning. So we're planning to expand into all sorts of areas, things like pet food, pharmaceuticals, lockers, much more. And a store costs 175 to 250,000. So compared to a traditional convenience store, VenHub holds about the same, if not more, SKUs and costs about a third of the price. So we're currently in open crowdfunding, and I believe it ends in about 6 days. So it's the last chance to get in. If you're curious about owning a store, you can pre-order, investing, or just want to see what the future looks like. VenHub's definitely something to watch out for. We're super pumped. We're coming for retail, and we can't wait to take you along with the journey if you guys decide to join.
Nick and Chris, real quick before you go, one thing that I forgot to mention with my story was the store closes at 12 o'clock. After 12 o'clock, I don't have many places to go, such as a quick trip to grab what I need. So I like that this is at least helping solve that problem aspect. And I've seen Walmart go cashierless in some of the locations that I've been to. But Nick, if you want to start first, it's all you.
Yeah, I mean, we're even seeing it in the vending machine space where it's no longer just we're going to install a vending machine. They now have like the machine-less vending experiences where you can go in with your phone and they charge your phone and they got cameras and AI, whatever, to identify what you got. So here's my first question.
Sure.
You have a really cool product. Like there's no doubt about that. It's awesome. There's a promise of, not having to go into the actual store and I can buy anything at any time. But I'm looking at this and it makes me like nervous because you've got 3 potential big points of failure. One is the software, because you've got to have the software in order to go and pick and pull and drop. The other is the hardware, the actual machine that is pulling it. And then the physical product, like the bulletproof glass, the maintenance, et cetera. There's a saying in venture that hardware is hard. Why
Correct.
Why not build one of those 3? Why are you doing all 3 at the same time?
So we're definitely starting with the fixed store model. So we're going to perfect this. We're going to make sure, like, as you said, our technology, our hardware, our software, everything's mingling, everything's talking to each other. The store's in constant communication with our live centers. So we're going to be monitoring every aspect of every part. So there's going to be sensors. There's going to be lifetime monitoring on the arms. So if one arm is having a difficult time, we can remotely power it down and the other one can take over. So with our maintenance program, we're going to have like hot swaps so people can come in. If it's something that needs to be replaced really quickly, it could be just done, but it'll just completely be removed and a new one will be placed in. So it's going to be kind of really modular design. So things can be put in, taken out, and it can be upgraded in the future. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Jacob, so I agree with Nick that this is hard, right? You got a tough hill to climb. But I'm also worried about what happens once you place a store. I know you've got a store in Pasadena, so I want to ask about that. But I heard a phrase once, and it was, that which is easily gained is easily lost. And I've looked at some data from pop-up stores, and when pop-up stores first started, everyone was optimistic that you could prove a concept and then open up a permanent store. But what we've learned is that we're creatures of habit, and we need to know that a place is going to be around for a while. So I'm curious about the performance of the store in Pasadena, and if you've thought about that, like, are people going to feel secure that store is going to be around there forever? And how can you help them overcome that if it doesn't look permanent?
So that is a good point, but our first models are going to be fixed models. So the mobile model is going to kind of be like a VenHub on wheels. It's going to pop up and it's going to kind of be perfect for concerts and stuff. But just like with any new tech, Uber really didn't have a market in the beginning. People weren't really doing anything on their phones, and then all of a sudden now everybody gets a taxi on their phone. So it's going to have definitely quite some adoption, and we've picked a good state, California. So and our first model is actually still not fully available to the public. We're still internally testing it to make sure that things are available. Our headquarters are in Pasadena, but I'm sure before the end of this year, we may have some exciting news, but because we should be shipping it before fourth quarter.
I'm really glad you brought up Uber, because do you know when Uber became profitable?
Yeah, Uber is definitely not even almost profitable. So,
okay,
they're still.
Uber had to spend billions and billions of dollars in order to gain the market share and educate people in the market. So like that would be that was like my main question to you is like, why are you raising money here? Why not go to Sequoia, Andreessen Horowitz? Like you're going to need a war chest in order to educate.
Yeah. We do have a SPAC LOI signed. It's non-binding, so I'm not sure exactly if it's going to go through or everything, but it is a potential future that we are looking to go public and get more institutional investments going on, because we do require a lot of footprint and a lot of man work to get all these pre-orders out. So there's a lot of proof of concept. We definitely have a lot of pre-orders to get after. We need to start producing these as fast as possible.
SPAC me, baby. SPACs are hard though, because you still have to get people to go and put money into that, right? Like it's much easier is like, it's totally relative term, but to go to some of those big funds and say, hey, this is the vision, can you buy in? Once you go the SPAC route, a lot of institutional capital doesn't like to put money into the SPAC because they don't have as much control, they don't have as much upside, they don't have all the rights that they typically write in, like the cram down rights or right of first refusal, et cetera. Why go the SPAC route instead of going the traditional route, like going up to the Bay Area and raising money that way?
Honestly, that might be a better question for leadership.
Okay.
So, I'm part of the marketing team, so leadership wasn't able to be on the call. Yeah, so
fair.
So Jacob, you've got $200 million worth of pre-orders booked. Right. What does it cost to actually commit on a pre-order?
So a pre-order, there's 3 different tiers. So there's the $2,500, which puts you first in line. I think there's one that's like $200, and then there's a free tier. So once we address those tiers in the order, then the 200 million is basically an accumulation of those, what the value of the orders would be.
Can you say that again? So how much are people putting down for the pre-orders? So 200 million in a pipeline, how much is actually being deposited into your bank?
200 million is just the anticipated revenue if we sell all 800 with the software and service and maintenance and all that stuff.
Totally. But how much are they putting down as a deposit?
So the first tier is $2,500 if you want to be first in line. And then second in line is, I think, like 200. And then we have a free tier, which is also third.
What percentage of the pre-orders are the free tier?
I don't have access to know which ones they are. Yeah.
Okay. Last question is, I didn't see anything on the page about the experience that you or your team has in the industry to help make this successful. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, so we have a lot of, the CEO and leadership have a lot of logistics and DoorDash and Uber Eats, Amazon logistics experience. They've also done big corporations with like onboarding delivery partners and sourcing, fulfilling items. They have a pretty good track record with tech and AI as well, with our new leadership. And we just onboarded somebody from Amazon on our board of directors, Natter. So we're pretty set for success, I think.
Hey Jacob, if next time I come to Southern California, would you give me a tour of this?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're more than welcome.
Where are you in Pasadena, by the way? You near PCC at all?
Yeah, we're right on Fair Oaks.
Dude, okay, I know exactly where that is. It's a great place. Yeah. I grew up in Fair Oaks, California, but not on Fair Oaks. So, all right, man, this was great. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Jacob. All right, man. We'll be in touch here shortly. Appreciate your time. And again, folks, we'll put all the links for everyone you can invest in their company here in the chat. But Jacob, we'll talk to you here shortly in a minute, hopefully. Yeah.
Thank you.
All righty. All right. That kind of does it in terms of, we get to the fun part of the show, in my opinion, but that kind of does it for our presenters. Nik, I'll start with you. Is this kind of what you expected? I know it's the first time that we've done this here on the Benzinga side. Obviously, you've heard pitches many times, but what was kind of special or different about this one, hearing from all four? And by the way, hopefully you guys are texting to figure out who your winners are. Our poll is also live chat. So if you want to figure out, or if you want to help dictate who gets the $1,250 invested, you can vote in the poll. That's going to close here in a second. But Nik, your thoughts so far?
Exceeded my expectations. I was already kind of excited just because of the novelty of it, but it was so much fun. And obviously each one of the people who pitched, they're very smart. They have a lot of experience. They're passionate about the business. So that part was really, really cool. I was also surprised with honestly how good each one of these businesses were. None of them are just, I don't know, some stupid side project. They're all really, really cool businesses. So that part was really cool. What about you, Chris?
I love it. Real quick, before you go, Chris, Joel, if you're still around, you might want to turn on your camera. But Chris, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, exceeded my expectations as well. I just wish we had more time. I would have loved to bro down with all these people for hours. And it's interesting because you said everything looks sexy on a spreadsheet, which is totally true. But I think in this case, it's almost opposite. Whereas I look at their pitch decks and it's like, oh, what about this? What about that? And then I actually talk to them and I see their face and hear from them directly. And it's like, oh, yeah, I could see that. Oh, yeah, I like that. So it's just really good to be able to hear from them directly.
Totally.
Chris, I can't tell you how many times I've become a millionaire on my Excel spreadsheet. I'm telling you, a lot of times.
I'm actually a billionaire on mine, so I do better than you.
I must be using the wrong formula. Can you help me out with what you're using?
No. Guys, if we just get 1% of 1% of this market, it's $1 billion company.
Mark Cuban would be very upset with you saying that because he hates talking about market cap and how big the business idea of it is. Well, I'll tell you what, the polls are going to close here in just a second, but I think my producers in the back, I want to get so there's two winners. Again, for the folks that are just tuning in, you've had four companies that have pitched that are raising their startups. We're going to have two types of winners. One's going to be that Nik and Chris are going to announce here in just less than a minute. That winner is going to get $1,250 invested at the very least, right? Then they can talk to them maybe later on and maybe invest more. That's up to them. But then the second part of it that's cool is in a minute, the polls are going on right now in the chat. So if you have a YouTube account, you can vote who you would like to have another $1,250 invested. You get to decide that. And I think we've got a bit of a lead here, but Nik, Chris, who's going to announce it between you two?
Nik, why don't you go ahead?
Okay.
All right. Wait, do you have the drum roll? Hold on. Producer,
we have a drum roll?
You slacked me that you had a drum roll, so I need you to have a drum roll.
Dang it.
There we go. All right, Nik, who's getting your money?
Overplay.
All right.
Dude.
Overplay is going to get it.
Ajna has my heart, but Overplay has my head.
All right. What is it about Overplay? Well, we'll bring on Caroline here in just a second, and then we'll talk about who the winner is from the poll. Obviously, you two decided, so I'm going to actually go to you, Chris. Why Overplay?
I'll say what I don't like about Overplay first. But, ironically, I don't like that they don't have a clear path, right? Ad tech is its whole thing. And then, an API is a whole thing. It's like, am I going to be Plaid or am I going to be Snapchat? It's like, which one? That's what I don't like. But I think that both are winning paths and that they're going to figure it out. And I don't blame them for launching an app in the ad store so they can at least answer the question of how is our daily active users, monthly active users, how long are they spending in the app? Like they need to know these things, even if they want to go the B2B route. So I like Overplay because it's in their hands. Whereas Ajna is like a strong number 2 for me, but a lot of it is out of their hands. And that makes me nervous. I just think it's a winner. Like I think the idea makes clear sense. Even if it's used on the back end of a big name app, like I think a bad case for them is a buyout that's too early, yet still profitable for everyone. And a good case is, multi-billion-dollar outcome.
I like that you said, I like that we don't know what we're going to do with it. I wish my ex maybe thought about that with, I don't know where my game plan is going to be in the future. And she still picked me as the winner. That would be great. But I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and talk to Caroline from Overplay.
Guys, if it works like insane, right?
You know me, I like to geek out with the good stuff. Overplay's the good stuff, so check it out.
Caroline, welcome back. I'm not going to pretend like you just got $1 million invested in your company. Maybe Chris and Nick will cut that check after the show. But what are your thoughts on what Chris just said about I like what the future may still be unpredictable at the moment?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you seeing that, Chris, because, this is one of those things where no one's ever built what we've built before, and it could have a few different paths. The thing that we had to do, and the reason why we had to launch the app, is to prove this out. First of all, did people want to play games like this? Did people want to make games? The MAU, DAU, we actually had to build that whole back end, because even Google Analytics doesn't measure what we want to measure. We actually had to build that from scratch too. So we are truly a first mover in what we're doing. We are that MBA case study that, and first movers don't always win, right? But we think that we have the team that, this is not our first walk around the block. You have
that was one thing we really liked about it, is you have a real team on board. It's similar, so we had another company on here, Ajna, which I really, really loved. And they're similar to you in the sense that they're a first mover in that space, right? So being a first mover can be advantageous, but you can also be MySpace and have Facebook come behind you and build, and be the real winner of that space. But it just seems like you have a much clearer path to profitability, whichever one of those routes and you could do both of them simultaneously. But just thought it was a really, really cool product, what you built.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're very close too. It's not like we can taste it. So it's not like it's pie in the sky. I didn't ask you this. You went from investment banker to Sesame Street. Freaking mind blowing. Why are you raising money in this manner? Why not, go back to Mark for a second round or some other funds? Yeah. So we actually are. So we did this prior as well. So we raised a very successful WeFunder last year. We're one of the most successful WeFunder campaigns last year, but we also were raising VC at the same time. I'm like, if your money is green right now, I am being a little bit selective on who goes on the cap table a little, but VCs, angels, and then we're democratizing gaming, and we very much believe in approaching the crowd, because it's like when you go to crowdfunding, that's democratizing investing, right? And those folks also become your advocates, and it's kind of crazy. We have some big partnership announcements that we're going to be making soon, and if you can believe it, that they all came through WeFunder. So folks who worked at the companies that we're going to be making at the announcements they actually invested in us. And then also, I wanted to say that Shark Tank found us through WeFunder. So we did not apply to Shark Tank. They actually came to us.
That's a flex. I love it.
Humble brag. Chris and I have a million questions for you, and we cannot wait to have you on our podcast. But until then, congratulations. You're building a fantastic product, and you've done an amazing job.
Thank you so much. We're super excited. You're going to be hearing a ton about Overplay really soon. So happy to be here first. Yeah.
Sweet. Perfect, Caroline. We'll talk. We'll get you graphics. I love the newsletter you sent out, by the way. Appreciate that. And we'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, Caroline. And of course, I was thinking about who the chat was going to pick in terms of their winner. And then as the winner was being decided, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. I should have known this. I should have known this about our viewers. But our winner from AT, if you want to play the drum roll again for dramatic purposes, you absolutely can. You got 5 seconds, or else can we just do it? I think we should just do it. All right. Who needs AI for a drum roll? The winner from the chat for your Startup Spotlight Showcase #1 is Ajna Biosciences. Let's bring on my man Joel.
What if I told you that the future of medicine is actually millions of years old? That the answers to some of the world's most vexing healthcare problems are found in the plants, trees, and fungi all around us. I'm Joel Stanley, CEO of Ajna Biosciences, and I'm here to share a vision for the future of drug development that will revolutionize healthcare globally. By partnering modern technology with the ancient wisdom found in nature, we are pioneering botanical drugs. My family and team found our first botanical solution at Charlotte's Web, where the revolutionary success story of Charlotte Figi and thousands of other children using cannabinoid therapy showed us for the first time how powerful plant medicine can really be.
How powerful plant medicine can truly be. Our chat clearly relates to that. They liked your presentation. They clearly voted you as a winner. I believe you got, what was it, 59% of our viewers that voted went ahead and loved your company the most. So congrats on that. What does it say to you when, like, we have retail viewers, we have retail investors, retail traders, folks that probably would like to use this, maybe use it as well. What does it say to you when you know that folks are interested this much in what you're doing, when it isn't even as popular because of regulations and it might still be a little taboo?
You know, I think, Nicholas, you said Ajna has my heart, right? The other has my brain. And you know, I think that what we're doing, people recognize as very important. You know, people want more natural options, but when you go to plant medicine, you're going to a dietary supplement industry that's largely unregulated. You can't get repeatable results. So I think people know and they believe that this, you know, really billions of year old laboratory in nature has paired molecules together in a way that we evolved alongside. And sometimes it solves our needs better and safer. So I think people know that, and that's what they want. Right. And, you know, to your points and how you, Chris and Nick, you know, chose it, this is something I've run into this whole time. I've dreamed about this botanical drug development engine since very early on within Charlotte's Web. Actually, my first meeting with the FDA was when they told me, you have a botanical drug, you need to do this. And to be honest, the regulatory environment way back then wasn't even available to me. And just a few years ago, when I first started this, there were lots of people within conventional drug development, biotech analysts, that said, I don't know if botanical drug development is possible. And after that, the third botanical drug was approved through the FDA, then the fourth, and, you know, now the sentiment's changing. But, you know, so I completely get it. What we're doing is not easy. We are a first mover. But also you have to consider that on our team, right, the only cannabis-based drug to ever be approved, which I think is in large part approved because of my own story, that was led by a man named Dr. Oren Davinsky, and he was the lead principal investigator, designed the clinical trials for that CBD drug to be approved. He's leading our project. He is chief medical physician for us. And then you have, we also have Jinhui Dao that spent 17 years inside the FDA, and he wrote the FDA's, you know, botanical drug development guidance. So literally the rule book that we use to move botanical drugs through, we have the primary author of. So, you know, it's a daunting task, and I get it, but it's also doable, but only if you have the right team. Which, Chris, you said it beautifully. Thank you for that at the end of my presentation.
I just want to say, for me, like, the reason that Overplay had my head was because it's like, okay, clear path to revenue and profitability in a short window. Ajna has my heart because I've dealt with ADHD, I've dealt with depression, I've taken SSRIs. You know, I've had conversations about giving pharmaceuticals to my children, and I think that we don't fully understand yet all the impacts that has. I worked in hospice. There's a link between SSRIs and Alzheimer's and dementia. And when you're developing products like you're developing, Joel, that are natural, that hopefully allow us to deal with and treat some of these illnesses without the pharmacological solution, but a natural solution, like, it just gets me incredibly excited, and I am passionate about it. It's just that timeline that for me is scary. It's like, was it 2 years? Is it 4 years? Is it 6 years? Could it go to zero? Right. So like, that's why I'm like, for me, it was like, dude, my heart, I love this product.
There's a big difference between investing in a CPG company that's going to see revenue really quickly and a biotech company, right? Early stage drug development, and really mid stage for us. I mean, we're advancing, hitting the normal milestones for drug development. It takes a special type of investor. And when you compare it to very clear early revenue, right, they just don't fit the same. And that's the reason why there are institutions that invest in drug development and institutions that only invest in, you know, post revenue. And
it's just like the stock market. You have your defense stocks, then you have your growth stocks, you have your value stocks. You know, it's all about what the investor at home is, what their cup of tea is. But Joel, thank you so much for your time, man. We'll be in touch, and we'll go with next steps here.
We'd love to connect with you outside of this as well, Joel. I think what you're doing is fantastic.
Let's definitely do it. Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks,
You
Joel.
bet, Joel. Appreciate you for joining us. And chat, I can't thank you guys enough for participating. This was a really cool concept. When I know the folks that I was talking about this idea back, I think in May, when I was visiting Detroit with Scott and Jack and Drew, and just being like, hey, how can we kind of do this? And then Jacob, shout out Jacob if you're watching, introduced me to Nick. And then Nick and I were like, hey man, like, how can we do this? Okay, maybe we should do this. Maybe we should do that. And then obviously, he talked about you, Chris, and how we could do this. But give me your final thoughts, man. This was cool for me to just kind of see it all go down the way that it did. Your final thoughts on everything we saw today before we go. Chris,
I'll let you go.
I had a lot of fun, right? This is like playing pickleball for me. I could do this all day long. So I'm impressed by all four of these guys, some more than others. I think we made the right choice, but I think Ajna is going to win as well.
Awesome. Well, this is more expensive than pickleball, by the way. And I should make it clear that it's Nick and Chris's money that's being invested both from the poll and that. I don't think I did a good job explaining that from the get-go.
Also, don't cash our check until the 23rd, please. Thank you. It has to clear,
Nick, your final thoughts, man.
Dude, I just had so much fun. I'm so grateful we live in a country that allows us to even have these types of conversations where people can come, create an idea, build a business, and then go and pitch people for money to grow that business. Like, what a freaking incredible place to live. What an incredible opportunity all of us have. And Zunaid, I'm just like stoked that we even were able to be a part of this. So thank you for having us.
Look, we're not a startup that raised money here, but I think it's cool that we went from an idea to execution, and the chat loves it. And I think it's one of the best shows that we've done of this caliber. So I can't thank you both enough, and we'll be in touch to get your money.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
We'll talk soon. Chris, thank you so much. And once again, we do these type of shows, right? And I didn't say this in the beginning, but when I grew up, I was like, oh, Wall Street is for the big, bad, smart people with loads of money. Obviously, I don't have loads of money, but I can still invest and I can still trade in the markets. Then when it came to startups, I was like, startups, you got to be a VC. You got to know how to read a 10K, a K9. I know it's a dog, whatever, you get the point. But now, thanks to, folks like VFunder, thanks for folks like Start Engine and people like Nick and Chris, you're able to invest with as little as $250. In the description, we'll also go ahead and put everyone that presented here today. But just real quick, I'll post it here in the chat as well. And we cannot thank you enough for coming out and joining us for this show and participating as well. If you have any feedback, as always, you can reach out to me at Zunaid@benzinga.com. And we thank you for watching the first ever Startup Spotlight Showcase, the next big thing.